JP Morgan, Google, Goldman Sachs. That's it, I know exactly what I'm going to apply for. Sorted. Does this sound like your job hunting strategy? If so, you might not realise it, but you might be taking a little bit of a gamble. It's a gamble essentially equivalent of guessing heads or tails correctly 3 times in a row. It's about 12.5%, which is about the same percentage of people who will end up with a graduate scheme. A definite minority, despite what you might hear from graduate fairs or in advertising from graduate recruiters. If you're looking at Goldman Sachs, for example, they received just over 260,000 applications in 2016, with barely over a 1% success rate for that. Now, you might be one of those 1%. You can definitely be one of those 1%, but you also might not be. So how can you give yourself the best opportunity of getting a job offer before you graduate? I think the answer has to be to diversify. So what's the point of diversifying? Well, you're going to ensure that you have a choice when it comes to the crunch, when it comes to graduation, more likely than not, to reduce the period of unemployment you might otherwise go through after you graduate, to ensure that you're not putting 100% of your effort into just 14, 12, 13% of what is available. So really spreading that risk and attention to find a firm or an organisation that truly potentially represents what you might want to do, to take the pressure off and essentially to find a graduate career that suits you. So what does a diversified approach to a career strategy actually look like? Well, we're going to approach it from 2 different perspectives. Firstly, from the point of my having had a 10-year career in banking, so actually seeing in practice what things work, not just for other people, but for me as well. I've lived it. And in the second instance, as a careers consultant, so coaching and helping others employ the similar strategy, no matter what sector they're in. So whilst I'm going to be talking a little bit about finance, I have worked with people to help them strategize more broadly to get into the UN, to Boeing, to get into television, to get into theatre. It's something that works for virtually everything. So what does this look like? Well, in the first instance, let's not chuck the baby out with the bathwater. Let's keep those graduate jobs. Certainly worth retaining those large graduate jobs, the ones that we've been speaking about as the first element. But the diversification would really creep in with the second element, which would be to look at associated graduate roles. So if you're interested in finance or investment banking or trading, I would say have a look at rating agencies. Standard & Poor's, Moody's, they do 99% of the same role as investment banks. You can also look at interdealer brokers who actually trade larger volumes than investment banks. These are enormously large corporations and very few people actually know about what they do. So thinking about what other graduate roles might be available that really correlate to the kind of skills and experiences that will lead you to potentially get into investment banking in a couple of years if that's what you've really got your heart set on. But in that time, you might find that you really love working in these other places anyway. So that's the kind of second component of diversifying your job strategy. In the third instance, again, if you're looking at investment banking and finance, why not look more broadly at asset management and fund management firms? In the City of London, in a very small concentration of space, we're looking at somewhere between 500 and 750 asset management firms. And again, these are small to medium sized. They won't typically advertise internships or graduate roles, but you can be absolutely sure that they're on the lookout for talent and they're feeling the pressure of everyone's attention being on the big firms and them not getting potentially as much. Now, I want to broaden this debate now to take us a little bit away from finance, but still maintaining that focus. And thinking about, well, okay, so it's all well and good thinking about these small to medium-sized enterprises, but how on earth do you identify them? How do you contact them? If they're not advertising anything, will they actually be bothered by us coming to have a chat with them? Definitely, almost certainly not. So no matter what you're going for, you could potentially use LinkedIn as a search engine. So you're simply typing into that white search box exactly what it is you're after. It can be something quite niche. It can be post-production in theatre, it can be infrastructure investment and management, it can be project management in the charity sector. Typing in those terms will reveal a whole cornucopia of options, of people, of jobs, of firms, of organisations. Once you've found a few that you like, click on them and you'll see a button that says See All Employees. I really recommend pressing that button because when you do that, you get access to their employees. And I would recommend choosing someone in the first instance. Choose someone who is not too senior and not too junior. So maybe someone who's a project leader or a team leader, because typically those are the people in an organization who potentially feel the most pressure because they've got to deliver things to their more senior management and yet rely on their associates and analysts to deliver for them. Those are the people I would reach out to, named individuals, and I might say something along the lines of, "Hi Victoria, really love the sound of what you're doing in post-production in theatre. There's a parallel with some experience I've had during my voluntary work. Might we be able to meet to have a discussion around how I might be able to get professional exposure to the work you do?" And this is a totally legitimate and expected part of job hunting strategy, of really getting to the places that mean a lot to you. I massively recommend it. It's a huge amount of fun to reach out to people and have these conversations. They work extraordinarily well. Other elements. You can speculatively approach to differently sized organizations that you might already be interested in. If we're talking about investment banks, I might think about Jefferies or Mizuho or Mitsubishi UFJ, who have enormous trading volumes and trading floors across the world, not just in their home countries, definitely in London, in North America, in South America. And typically, again, these are firms that are relatively hidden. They may not have typical graduate schemes, but they are very, very open and willing to hear from keen quality candidates who know about them, who know about the work they do. There's definitely scope for broadening out to whatever you're looking at. There are always organizations on a differing size scale that you can interact with and have a conversation with. So do think broadly, definitely think broadly. I would also say volunteer, network, reach out, know and interact with people who can definitely help you. Jobs don't exist in a vacuum, they are always attached to people. So if you can put yourself in line for where you might be interacting with the people who can open doors for you, where you can put yourself in environments where you can actually test whether you do actually like working in that environment as opposed to just suspect it or have a strong feeling, that will all massively help in diversifying the kind of job strategy that might work really well for you. So do focus on the big stuff, but definitely simultaneously alongside that, to maintain momentum, maintain a sense of fun, keep open a whole load of different streams to make sure you're interacting with the entire nature of the kind of work that might appeal to you. So to summarize, maybe don't put all your eggs in one basket. Think wider and beyond just the graduate schemes. If you pursue a number of streams simultaneously right from the off, you're more likely to come across a whole load more opportunities in the process. And not only coming across more opportunities, but also having fun in the process. You can interact with, meet, experience so many different things in the process of broadening how you're looking at the job market. And ultimately, you'll go into those interviews feeling a whole lot better for having done that. Good luck.